you contracted malaria, right?
Yeah.
Right, but were you taking the malaria tablets?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a weird story how this happened. So it was a 5-month journey, and only 1 month into the 5-month journey, we rocked up to a community in the south of Madagascar that actually was suffering with the bubonic plague, this ancient disease. And I was warned that there is still the plague in Madagascar. So as we approached, they said they were very hospitable, but there was this really low, eerie energy about the community, and they'd recently lost a few relatives to the plague. So they said, stay in the tent, we'll bring food to you and water, because there was lots of sort of animals around and fleas and the plague.
And was that sanitized, like the stuff that they're bringing you?
No, it's just a small sort of very remote community in the middle of sort of South Madagascar.
God.
And so we stayed in our tent. We were exhausted, big day. I think it was that day that we had to scramble away from a bushfire, literally had to run. So we just wanted to get our head down and collapse. And they brought over this bowl of food, and it was rice and eel, but the eel smelled a little bit funky. But we weren't sure. I had eaten eel before, but this one didn't smell the best. But me and my guides, we were fucking hungry. We were eating that damn food, and so we got stuck in. And then
eel. That's like my worst.
It's not even the fact it's just eel. He said it didn't even look good.
Didn't even smell good. Yeah,
that's
that was
it.
So we ate that, and the next day, all three of us were suffering. We had severe diarrhea.
Yeah.
And so I think the malaria pills that we were taking
came straight.
Pretty much, yeah. So we didn't have the full dose protecting us.
So the malaria tablets came out in the diarrhea, and then that's how you right.
And then I think malaria got a hold of me. It was pure unluck because the chances are just crazy. Got a hold of me, and for the next 4 or 5 days, I was actually walking with malaria, with falciparum. There's 4 different strains of malaria. You've got 3 which are weaker strains, but they can remain dormant in your system, like you've got it forever. But you've got the deadliest called falciparum, and it usually kills you within 24 hours.
No way.
But it's the only one that you can completely eradicate out of your system.
Right.
So I put the positive spin, like, yes, unfortunately I got the deadliest, but it's out of my system fully. And I did just about, I don't know how, I think lasting 5 days was just because my body was so used to sort of pushing itself, and I still had the anti-malaria pills. There was still some dose in there protecting me.
Okay.
And by the time I made it to a community, it had overland transport. They sort of took me to a city, and the doctor came out. At this point, I was delusional, sort of hallucinating. I just collapsed on the bed, just saw heads spinning above me. It was the doctors taking my blood, and they came back and they said if you were 3 hours later, you would have slipped into a coma and potentially died. Did
any of your guides have malaria as well?
Yeah, and one of the guides called Me, his name is Me, it always got confusing, Me and Me. He had the malaria that remains dormant in his system. So every few years, it triggers in him.
Got it.
Wow.
What does it do to him?
I think it just feels like severe flu, is how he explained it.
How's it passed on, the malaria, to him?
Mosquitoes.
So I was reading that, like, mosquitoes. I remember when I lived in Bali for a year.
Yeah.
And I remember everybody was scared of dengue fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no dengue, some people call it dengue, but there's no vaccine for it, right? There's no sort of, and apparently they call it like the bone breaker disease, and the second time you get it can kill you. So I started reading up on mosquitoes, and apparently they kill 1 million people a year. So and it's mainly malaria. It's the biggest killer in the world.
Yeah, I heard about that. Mosquitoes are the biggest killer in the world. They think it's all this craziness is mosquitoes.
Yeah, because they did. It wasn't that video as well in Africa. Like, what do you think the most dangerous thing is in Africa? And it was like naming hippo, buffalo,
lion, tigers,
and then it fucking came out as mosquitoes. Yeah, kills the most.